What's up, Duelists? MD here, and today I'm coming at you guys with a deck profile of my Performapal Odd Eyes Magician deck. Now, I personally love this deck so much, not only because of how this deck just works, but also because of the character as well, because I've said a lot of my videos that Seto Kaiba is my favorite character, but a very close second would have to be YuGiOh, and just the whole Arc 5 thing in general I really like, so hopefully I do him some justice today with this deck profile of what I personally believe perfectly personifies his full deck in a competitive standpoint. Blech, tongue-tied. Alright, so not delay, gonna get right into it. First of all here, what Odd Eyes deck is anything without 3 copies of Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon? It's got a scale of 4, but you very rarely actually pendulum summon with this. So basically, it's going to be your material for just about everything in the deck. And it's got the nifty little effect to where if it destroys if it battles a monster and destroys it, the damage your opponent would take is doubled. So if this thing attacks a monster with 0 attack, it's going to be doing 5,000 damage instead of 25, which is really, really cool. And its pendulum effect's pretty nifty as well. Being able to destroy stuff at the end phase to search for a pendulum monster, 15 or less attack, really, really cool. But it's also got this other pendulum effect I figured I'd share with you guys quickly, to where while this thing's in a scale, if you battle against another of your opponent's monsters, that battle damage is reduced to 0. So basically, if a big monster attacks a little pendulum, you're not going to take any damage. I thought that was very interesting because I never noticed that effect, because you never keep this guy in the scale. I just wanted to share that with you guys though. So, over there. And I apologize for that, that's the annoying fax machine, which people like to call for some reason. Alright, so right here we have 2 copies of Magical Abductor next. Now this is going to be our main way of searching everything, to where whenever you activate a spell card, and I looked into it, and yes, activating another pendulum scale does put a counter on her. So where if there's 3, you can remove 3 and search for any pendulum monster you would like. Now, a lot of you may be wondering why I don't have 3 in here, but here's why. If this was just Odd Eyes Magician, I would run 3. If this was just Performapal Odd Eyes, I would run 3. But since we're doing both of them into one deck, we already have so many ways to search for stuff that a third one's just kind of clunky and unnecessary to me. But that's just my opinion, so not to mention being a level 4 does kind of help a little bit. Our next up for searchers is going to be 2 copies of Performapal Pendulum Sorcerer. Now, I tried 3 in a deck for a little while, but I found 3 was just getting way too clunky, but 2 is actually the golden number. And both of its effects for both Pendulum and Monster are pretty useful. So where on the Pendulum, if you Pendulum summon Performapal monsters, every Performapal gains 1,000 attack for that turn, which is really, really cool. And also, it's got the Monster effect where when it's special summoned, you could destroy 2 cards on the field and search your deck for 2 different Performapal monsters with different names and add them to your hand. So this is literally a way to search off Joker as well, to where you just search off your Joker, then use Joker search for stuff, and just go off like crazy. Alright. And now we're going to get into some of the Magician parts here. But that does not mean we're done with Performapal. Alright, so right here we have 2 copies of Oath Dragon Magician. Basically standard in any sort of Odd Eyes Magician deck. Very, very good scale. And also, it's a way to get stuff back from both your graveyard and your extra deck when need be. So, very, very good. Next up here, we have 2 copies of Performapal Odd Eyes Unicorn, along with 2 copies of Dragon Pit Magician. Let me move those up for you a bit. These are your high scales of the deck, and thank goodness we got this card when we did, because this deck was needing some higher scales. And I don't run any of the Mirage Dragon in here at all, because I tried it, and to me, I just found it very unnecessary. But if you guys have Odd Eyes Mirage Dragon and you want to do it, then by all means, go for it. So, basically, what they do besides special summoning is that the Odd Eyes Unicorn here basically powers up your Odd Eyes Dragon with the attack of another Performapal on the field, but you can only do it once while it's on the field. And Dragon Pit's just a way to get rid of back row, because with any Pendulum deck, we do not want to see back row whatsoever. Alright, now a few of our one-ups here. We have 1 copy of Skullcrabat Joker. Really wish this would go up to at least 2. 1 copy of Magispector Raccoon, and 1 copy of Magispector Kieran. Now, I know a lot of people usually run at least 2 or 3 of the Raccoon and only 1 Kieran, but I don't get why. Because once you use the first one for the curing, what are you going to use the other two for? Not to mention, we already have more than plenty of pendulum monsters here to work with. So, the Horizon runs behind the unicorn, the raccoon, bleh. And that's for the reason for the unicorn here. Just, it's very, very standard. Honestly, I would be running much more of this if the list didn't hit it. So, very, very powerful. During either player's turn, you can bounce a pendulum monster you control, including this one, and another monster your opponents control, and they both go back to your hand. So, very, very good there. And Joker, once again, very standard. Anything Performapal or Odd Eyes wise. Basically, normal summon, search for any of those three, whether it be a Pendulum Magician, a Odd Eyes, or Performapal monster. And just, yeah, it's so, so good. Why? The deck, I just cry because Joker's still banned. I mean, you already got rid of Monkey Board completely. Can we at least get Joker at 2, Konami? Please. Alright. And some more stuff here. We got 2 copies of Performapal Lizard Draw. The only real thing you use the effect for is to put it on your pendulum scale with another Performapal. Just blow it up and draw a card. So, very, very good. Not to mention being a level 3 does help a little bit, which I will show you guys later. And some more one-ofs here. We have 1 copy of Janky Magician, 1 copy of Timebreaker, 1 Performapal Radish Horse, 1 Odd Eyes Light Phoenix, 1 Wisdom Eye, 1 Noble Dragon Magician, and 1 Arcfiend Eccentric. Now, Janky is just another level 7 in the deck. Not to mention being able to shut off light monster effects is pretty good. But this helps make your Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon, which I will show you guys later on in the profile. Now, as for a Timebreaker Magician here, I feel this card is super underestimated and overlooked. It's a really, really good card for the deck. So, it's got a lot of effects. First of all, if you Pendulum Summon, and this is the only monster you Pendulum Summon from your hand, its attack is permanently doubled to 28. So, very, very good there. Not to mention that during every turn, you could banish this card along with another monster your opponent controls, but they both come back during your standby phase. But you could just keep doing it over and over and over again. Not to mention, it's got the neat little pendulum effect to where the first time any of your pendulum monsters would be destroyed, they're not destroyed. So, again, very, very overlooked card. I honestly almost decided to run 2 of this in here, but I just could not make the room. But again, very good card. And as for your Arcfiend Eccentric, just another way to get rid of back row. Yeah, I run a lot of ways to get rid of back row in this deck. Because, yeah, for those of you who are just now starting to learn about pendulum monsters and pendulum decks, again, I cannot stress this enough. You do not want to see back row. So, yeah, you want to run all the ways to get rid of back row as possible. Alright, as for Performapal Radish Horse, it's a pretty good card to have in here. A pretty decent low scale that can honestly lower and boost the attack of one of your monsters for the battle phase. So, very, very good. And Performapal Odd Eyes Light Phoenix. I'm a little skeptical about this card, but it's basically the only low scale searchable one we have for Odd Eyes right now. But once we get Persona Dragon, this is immediately coming out for it. So, again, the only reason I run this in here is because you have to right now. I mean, its effects are not really anything special. I got a hiccup there, sorry. Yeah, again, the effects are really nothing special. Basically, if they declare a direct attack, you can special summon this from your scale. And also, you tribute it and boost up one of your Performapals by 1,000 for a turn. So, I mean, it's not the worst thing, but there's definitely much better to have. And Wisdom Eye, very, very obvious reasons. Just blow it up when you have a Magician or Performapal on your other scale and put another Magician there. So, very, very good. And Noble Dragon, just as your usual synchro material for the deck, just to make all sorts of crazy synchro plays, which I will be showing you guys in a bit. And our last monster here is our other tuner card, Tuning Magician. Now, this is a really, really pretty decent card for the deck, to where it can make a lot of your synchro plays, not to mention that it's super easy to summon, because it's got the effect to where if you have 2 Magicians and your scales, you can special summon it from your hand or graveyard, but you have to banish it whenever it leaves the field, so not that big a deal. And also, it's got the slightly annoying thing to where your opponent gains 400 and you lose 400 when this card's summoned, but honestly, if everything goes right, you're usually going for game anyway, so the plus 400 is not really doing anything for them. Alright, and that will do it for my monster lineup. Yeah, more than half of this deck is monsters, so that's why it took a while. And now for our spell cards here, I have 2 copies of Ignite Reload and 1 copy of Upstart Goblins, just to make it a 39 card deck. Now, some of you might be wondering, why are these not Pot of Desires? I've got a few reasons for that. First of all, I don't like the card. Second off, if I had over $200 to spend on a playset of that, I would not be in my financial problems right now. Now, honestly, if you have Pot of Desires already and want to put it in a deck, then by all means, go for it. It's just, in all seriousness, that card is way out of my price range. Not to mention, these cards do the job just fine, especially Ignite Reload. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm starting to find out that Ignite Reload is not for every Pendulum deck out there, but it's amazing for this one. So what it does is that you reveal any Pendulum monsters you have in your deck, you shuffle them back in, and you draw cards for the ones that you shuffle back in, +1. So, let's just say this is a Pendulum monster for a second. If I played this, and I reveal this Pendulum monster, shuffle it back, I draw 2 cards, it's because of the +1 there, so super, super amazing card. Puts in some major work for the deck. And once again, Upstart Goblins, just to make it a 39 card deck. Play it, opponent gets 1,000, you draw 1. Very standard. Alright. Now next up here, we have 1 Pendulum Call. Now when this got hit to 1, I originally thought this was going to be the worst thing ever. But it's actually not that bad. Sure, you have to just be lucky enough to draw it, but there's just certain ways to work around it now that we got in recent sets, which I will show you guys in a bit. So, very good card here. What it does, you just discard a card and you search your deck for 2 of different names of Pendulum Magician cards, and your scales cannot be destroyed by card effects till the end of your opponent's next turn. So, very, very good card here indeed. Alright. Next up here I have 2 copies of Sky Iris and 2 copies of Terraforming to search them. So yeah, Terraforming is to search, and Sky Iris is an amazing card in the deck. It protects your Pendulum scales from being destroyed. Not to mention, you can destroy one of your cards that you control and search for an Odd Eyes card. Now, that does not specifically mean Odd Eyes monster. It can also search, bam, Odd Eyes Fusion in the deck. So, this card here, super, super good. It's basically your poly for the deck to where you can make your fusion monsters, but it's also got this really cool thing to where if your opponent has 2 or more monsters and you don't have any, you could use monsters from your extra deck as material to make an Odd Eyes Dragon Fusion, which is just incredible. Just incredible. So, that's why I run these in here. And last up for my spell cards is just 2 copies of Twin Twisters. Yes, more ways of getting rid of back row. I told you guys, this deck has a lot of ways to deal with back row. And honestly, this is probably going to be one of your most expensive cards in the deck. Like, I do my best to keep cards not only as playable as possible, but also as budget friendly as possible. These are like 11 bucks each, like a little on the expensive side, but they're not really too hard to trade for, so you shouldn't have too much problem getting these. And last but not least, going to be running my trap line. Going to be 1 copy of Solemn Warning, 1 Grand Horn of Heaven, and 1 copy of Solemn Strike. Now, again, some of you might be asking the same question as you did with my draw cards. Why is there not at least 2 or 3 Solemn Strike? And same thing as for the Pot of Desires. Money. I just happen to be so lucky to get this card out of one of my Megatons. But, yeah, that's a lot of money that I just don't have to be putting in. But not to mention, Grand Horde of Heaven puts in some really good work. Like, this is really a budget strike for you guys who can't afford it, but honestly, it's really, really good. Because what it basically does what Strike does, but your opponent draws a card. However, even though it sounds bad that they get to draw a card, that immediately ends their main phase and then go directly to the battle phase. So let's say if you're facing against a Pendulum deck and they Pendulum summon, boom, you activate that. Not only does the summon get negated, they all get sent to the graveyard, not the extra deck. And that's it. Like, their main phase is done. And since you destroyed all their monsters, there's nothing they can do for their battle phase. So, very good card in itself there. And Strike, as I did, does the exact same thing. But it can also work when a monster activates its effect. Just pay 1,500 and negate it. I tell you, I don't know how that card has been avoiding the ban list, but I get the feeling that it's not going to be avoiding the list much longer. And hopefully when that does happen, that card will drop in price. And last up here, we got Solemn Warning, just the cheap, very cheap card of it. These are in a lot of starter and structure decks, so this card should not be hard for you guys to get at all. Basically, it does the same thing as the other two, but it also applies to where if a spell, trap, or a monster effect with special summon, you can negate it. So that will do it for the main deck. And now for the extra deck, which is probably my favorite part of the deck because of the fact that other than very few cards, there's no like cards you have to have in the extra deck. It's very, very flexible. You can almost run whatever you want in the extra deck so long as you're able to make them. So as you can see here, you got 2 copies of Absolute, 1 Odd Eyes Rebellion, 1 Red Eyes Flare Metal, and 1 Big Eye. These 2 I feel are generic rank 7s. You gotta have these in anything that you play with rank 7. Big Eye just helps you steal one of your opponent's monsters on your side of the field. And Red Eyes Flare Metal burns your opponent for 500 every time they basically do anything. So yeah, very good to have. Not to mention, what a lot of people seem to forget is that this card cannot be destroyed by card effects as long as it has material on it. So, very good wall to have. And now let's get into the Odd Eyes parts here. Now, the reason I have 2 copies of Odd Eyes Absolute instead of the standard 1 copy is just because this card right here puts in so much work. First of all, it helps you make your Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon. Second off, when it's basically works as a Utopia that it can negate a monster attack, but once you do negate it, you can special summon an Odd Eyes from your graveyard onto the field. So let's say at some point you had to put your Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon in the graveyard. If you detach and negate the attack, boom, it goes right back on your field. Not to mention, it's got this really awesome effect to where when that card is destroyed, you can special summon an Odd Eyes from your extra deck. And by that, boom. Right here, Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon. Now, even though I run the Odd Eyes Fusion card in the deck, you don't need it. Like, to make Odd Eyes Vortex, you literally do not need that Fusion card whatsoever. All you need is just the Absolute, and boom, you've got him. And what the Vortex does is that when it's special summoned, you can bounce one of your opponent's attack position monsters back to their hand. And you can also negate a spell, trap, or monster effect by shuffling a pendulum monster from your face-up extra deck back into your deck. So, very, very good wall to have in the deck. And even though I'm running like the original Ultimate version of it, this was reprinted as a secret in the Megaton, so this card's super easy to get. And did not mean to push off Rebellion to the side here. Rebellion is super, super cool. So, to make him, I'm gonna show you guys quickly how to make him because it's a little bit tricky, but once you figure it out, it is just mind-blowing. Like, I can't honestly not tell you guys how many times I have caught my opponent off guard in one game because of this card. But to make it, you need Janky on your scale. All right. So let's say you've got yourselves, just to put an example, you've got your Odd Eyes Absolute and your Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon here, right? You would use the Janky Magician's effect to make this rank into level, and then you can XC summon it from there and go into your Odd Eyes Rebellion. Now, you could technically make Odd Eyes Rebellion with just any 2 rank 7 dragons, but if you use the XC's monster, you gain some effects. First of one is being that you can destroy all your opponent's monsters that are level 7 or less, and you burn them for 1,000 each. Oh, it does not stop there. And when you do that, this 3,000 attack monster can attack your opponent 3 times that turn. So, you could basically make this to go into surprising OTKs. Like, I kid you not, there's been so many times I caught my opponent off guard with this card. And it's also got the awesome effect to where when it's destroyed, you could place this in your pendulum scale. And it does have a pendulum effect here to where if you have no other cards in your pendulum zone, you could search your deck for a pendulum monster and place it there. So pretty good, I would say, for as far as needing an emergency play to go to. However, once we get Raging Tempest and we get the Odd Eyes Raging Dragon, I might be cutting this guy for him because he does what Odd Eyes Rebellion does in just a more consistent manner. So, though, I don't know, I might still keep Odd Eyes Rebellion just because of good old times, you know? But, yeah. sorry about that, guys. I just wanted to give you like a quick little how-to on to make him and stuff like that. All right, as far as our other cards are considered, we have one copy of Naruto More Leader because we have our 2 Oath Dragons and our Kirin to help make this. Basically, detach, negate, spell, trap. Very good. And we also have 101 Silent Honor Arc. Got Dark Rebellion XYZ Dragon. Hey, we even got some YuGiOh in here. Boom, boom. And we got Castel, the Sky Blaster Musketeer. Obvious rank 4, just detach and shuffle a card from your opponent's side to the deck. Silent 101 Arc, a little bit forgotten, but if your opponent doesn't plan for it, then this could really ruin their day. Detach 2, steal one, take one of their monsters and make it a material onto him, and boom. All of a sudden, they are in a bad position. Listen, when I said just detach and negate, spell, trap. And this one just to help you go for OTKs. Detach 2, steal half the attack of one of your opponent's monsters, permanently increase to his, and just swing right at them. Now, honestly, if I had room for the rank up spell, I would be running the new Dark Rebellion Dragon in here, but I just could not find room for that rank up spell. So that's the only reason why. Alright, and we're going to go into some of our synchros here. First of all, we got Nirvana High Paladin, amazing synchro. We got Ignister, Odd Eyes Meteor Burst Dragon, and hey, look at that, we even got some YuGiOh in here with Clear Ring Synchro Dragon. Now, Nirvana High Paladin, guys, oh, this card is so amazing. Like, I wish I had room for 2 of them in here. That's how good he is. I wish I could put 2 of them in here. And I almost did for a while. So basically, it has a lot of effects. I'll go through them just to give you the simple gist of it. Basically, it has to be a tuner and a non-tuner synchro monster. But for this deck, that is no problem because you can use a pendulum summoned monster as a tuner for this guy. So let's say you have Meteor Burst or Clearing out, right? And you have, oh, I don't know, just to give you guys an example here. You have this guy here who was pendulum summoned. You could literally just synchro these into Nirvana High. So for this deck, he is super easy to make. Not to mention, when he is synchro summoned, you can get back any card from your graveyard. Any card whatsoever. Monster, spell, trap, pendulum call. So that's the thing I was talking to you guys earlier about, to where having one pendulum call is no longer as big a deal because we can just recycle it back when Nirvana High. And it also has the really amazing effect to where whenever it destroys your opponent's monsters in battle, you half their life points. So on top of any battle damage you're doing to them, you're having it at that. Just, oh, this card is so good. So good. Not to mention, when it's destroyed, you put it back on your pendulum scale. And for the pendulum effect, it's a little bit there. But once again, I'll do my best to give you the gist of it. Basically, whenever your pendulum monsters attacks a monster, you would take no damage for that battle, and they cannot be destroyed by that battle. So basically, if you guys have ever watched Arc 5, and you saw where YuGiOh was taking on Jack Atlas, to where every single one of his monsters kept attacking the big one, they didn't get destroyed, but they kept lowering his attack every single time that they attacked him. That's basically what this effect is. It's the same as the anime. So, once again, an amazing card. Just, I really want to run 2 of them in here. But usually when I make the one, that's game right there anyway, so. And as far as Ignister goes, not much to say. This is basically your out to everything. So you would just destroy one of your pendulum scales and shuffle a monster from the field to the deck. Now, this does not target or destroy, so basically nothing is protected from this. So let's say you're going against Blue Eyes, for example, and they bring out their big Chaos Max Dragon that can't be targeted or destroyed. That's cute. Just play him, use the effect, boom. He's back into the deck. Alright, Meteor Burst is pretty standard in this deck. To whatever it's synchro summon, you could special summon one of your scales, but he can't attack for that turn, which that's completely fine. Because it also has the effect, what a lot of people forget, that your opponent cannot activate monster effects during the battle phase with this guy. So, very, very good there. And Clearwing Synchro Dragon is a pretty nifty card here, to where it can negate the effect of a level 5 or higher monster and destroy it. And it could also gain attack to where if I'm a level 5 or higher monster during the battle phase. So, very, very good card here indeed. And the final card I run here is going to be Ruinized Pendulum Dragon. I feel this card's a little bit underestimated. And why I say that is because whenever this card is fusion summoned by a pendulum summon monster, it is unaffected by card effects for the rest of your turn, which is really, really good right there. And it also gains attacks for the higher the level of the spellcaster card you use. So if it's a level 4 or lower, it can attack your monsters twice. So it can destroy one monster, then it can just destroy another. And if it's with a level 5 or higher, and let's say your opponent has a full field, boom, boom, boom. That's 3 monsters with this one card right here it can destroy. And also 3,000 is pretty high, so definitely an underestimated card in my opinion. Now, if I had it, I would put in the new Starving Venom Dragon in here, just because it's so good. Not to mention, we'd even have some Yuri in this deck. We would literally have the 4 characters in this deck had I been able to get myself a Starving Venom, but having a little hard time getting my hands on that card. But you don't have to run that card. Again, here, before I end the video, let me just show you guys the only cards I feel like you have to have in this deck. Like, absolutely just have to have. Like, this is just my opinion, but that's it. This is really all I feel you must run in the deck. Everything else you see here is just optional stuff you want to do. So, again, that's why I like this deck so much. It's super cheap, first of all, and also it's just very, very, very flexible to where you can run just however way you want as long as you're having fun. And isn't that the point of YuGiOh's character? Just to have fun and entertainment? So yeah, hopefully I did him some pride today with this Performapal Odd Eyes deck profile. Once again here, this deck is super, super cheap. And honestly, Nirvana High is not all that expensive either, so definitely a budget-friendly deck for you to pick up and can definitely hold its own against the meta. So, that will conclude today's deck profile. If you guys like this video, be sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you are all new to the channel. And I'll be seeing you guys around. This has been Magician's Descendant, and you duelists, take care.